Hello everybody, you're on the go again. We're up to the mountains. We're going to go up to a pretty remote part of Eryri today. Weather's not so bad, a little bit chilly, 10 degrees on the clock over here. It'll be a little bit colder up there of course. A little bit cloudier than we wanted it to be, but it's okay. We'll be taking a drone, getting some nice footage from up there hopefully. Very high tide, the house, look at that, I don't know if you can see it, no you probably can't. Goch is actually flooded, it actually is flooded. Yeah, climate change for you, but today that's more a result of the moon and the sun pulling together again. Just had a partial solar eclipse yesterday, which I was able to see from Chester whilst I was away there, so obviously they're all aligned, pulling together and getting a very high spring tide. That's probably the highest tide I've ever seen actually. Surprisingly hazy today. It's a northwesterly wind I think, which usually brings us fresh and clear air. Not so much today, but anyway, we'll make the most of what we're given. It's a Sunday today, so I brought the bike out rather than a car. A bit more faff trying to get going on the road, but or on the walk I should say, also on the road, but parking can be a bit of a headache on the weekends especially, so there's usually somewhere to fit the bike comfortably in. We've got the constabulary ahead of us I think. Keep an eye out for those. Well within the speed limit here. It's just it's an ambulance actually. There we are. Out for this car ahead here. What's he gonna do? Elderly. Well, it's a walk of contrast today, folks. We start off with a fairly steep, look at now, but fairly steep rise through some nice fairly ancient woodland. Everything's coming into leaf now, which is quite nice. Relatively warm here. And then we're going to have a big change within just the space of a few hundred metres, where we'll be out on essentially open valley moorland, and getting ever deeper into the heart of Eryri. A little slate mine at it here, an exploratory one. I've got the torch with me. Doesn't sound very deep. The slates, well, it's hardly slate, it's like schist really. You can see where the drilling went on, the power drilling, and this is on the opposite side to Penryn Quarry, which you may be able to see over there, and this is almost certainly driven by workers from Penryn, probably during or just after the strike of 1900, 1903, when they were looking for their own vein that wasn't on land owned by Penryn, so that they could make their own fortune, or just work under their own terms. So Penryn was basically a the slave master. He was so wealthy he could just shut down the whole operation for the better part of 3 years, rather than cave into the workers' demands for better pay. As you can see, within the space of about less than 10 minutes, we've climbed quite a long way up. We started from the valley floor. You can see the road on the left hand side possibly there, and yeah, quite a steep climb, but it gets a little bit easier from now on. It's just a long horizontal slog. You've got the farm down there, which is the bombing practice target for jets coming down the valleys at low level during the week, and the vast slate spoil tips of Penryn Old Quarry. Some of the galleries you can see in the distance there. Maybe it's not so well highlighted today thanks to the lack of sun, but it's okay. It's a nice cool day. I much prefer walking on a cool day than a warm one. I was going to go on Tuesday coming, but that's going to be about 18 Celsius, and I'm not a warm weather walker. Well, we've reached the point we were heading for. You can see all the way in the distance over there, which is about, I don't know, a couple of kilometres, I guess. Took us about 20 minutes, half an hour. Oh, I can see some people coming up. They came up the hard way, all the way from Bethesda. Oh, I have some company up there, I don't know. And then just where the sun's coming into the middle distance there, there's an old multicellular sheepfold. It's for washing largely there. Some pools of water in the river where sheep were washed. Sorry about the wind, I'll get a little bit louder, shall I? And then there's a very complicated one just here where the sun's just reaching now. I'll put some drone footage, or photos at least, that I took a couple of years ago. That's a very beautiful one with a fantastic view up the valley, and then we've got just over here an old concrete dam, which would have been to power, I don't know, could have been for a farm or for a quarry. And there we are, and lovely sunshine coming through now. And then we're going to head on up this valley. I've just come across a 4x4 track, or a quad bike track. That seems to go up valley rather than rather upslope rather than along it. So just taking a quick peek along the river here, because I don't really want to be climbing any more than I have to. And you can see it's a pretty spectacular place, and you've largely, though today not entirely, got the place to yourself. Well, the first thing I'm amazed about is just how well trodden this path is. It's pretty remote. As you can see from the path, it's quite well used. So the reason for that is because it comes up, the path starts from Bethesda, or one of the main paths does. I started up here many years ago and I couldn't quite find my way past the farms and the sort of undergrowth at the bottom. But maybe things are a bit clearer now. But anyway, yeah, I've come across about 5 or 6 people around me or near me somewhere so far. So yeah, just need a little bit more sunshine now. So we're not too far. We'll be up at the pretty much at the head of this valley in about a quarter of an hour, I suppose. There's a nice trackway. I presume this was made for the quarry, or the mine at the top, because it's quite well made, and it's got a very steady shallow gradient. So I would guess it had some trackway and carts pulled by horse back in the day, as they say. Look at that. And this is an absolutely enormous, well, it's not exactly a boulder, it's part of a mountain, a large part of a mountain. I think it says it's about 11 metres high or something. I think it's a bit taller than that even. Yeah. Look at that. Looks like something out of Star Wars. Huge. I'm sure people climb up there, although I shan't be. Over here we've got a bit of an old shelter. Probably a summer shelter. Yeah, got some walls here as well. Look at the size of this thing. Whoop. There's some nice walls here. And then this monstrosity. Hi folks, well we're on the way back. Had a nice time flying the drone up there. It's pretty chilly now though. A bit of a cold front swept through I think all of a sudden, and the sky starts to clear up a little bit more. Nice blue sky behind me you can see, but the air temperature's really dropped. It's I'd say the wind chill is hovering around 0, a little bit below possibly. Bit of a wind, so we're walking at a fair pace, keep warm, and got a few drone pictures as you've probably seen already in the video of piles of stones which used to be something in the past. So, yeah, nice walk. and some lovely sunshine. It's kind of autumn sunshine, but in spring, so you know it's the other side of the fading light equation, where things are getting brighter, not fainter. So, but it very much feels like autumn. There's a lovely light on the old quarry heaps there. And down over there, the old quarry workings, there's a church buried under there. All in the interests of making money out of slate. Just as I was just telling you about the Penryn quarry, I noticed there's a lot of slate, poor quality slate, on the floor here all around, and then I looked a little bit further on and there's a cleft in the rock. So they had a bit of an exploratory dig here. That's as far as they got. The rock quality never got any better. There is a tunnel above Rachib, and it was written about by Charles Sheridan Jones at the time of the Great Penryn Strike, 1900-1903. He came here to report for the London newspapers, and he went native, as the old saying used to go. He very much understood the issues at stake between the landowner and the workers, and he was very sympathetic and was instrumental in getting news about the slate quarrymen's predicament out to the wider world and helping them to raise funds because they had no employment at the time. They couldn't feed themselves, and so there were all sorts of union and other people collecting money to keep these people alive. But there is a tunnel, as I say, over Rachib Way, a bit difficult to find, but it's still very much open. It has a couple of bats in there, so really you shouldn't go in there. And if you see them, don't disturb them, just turn around and go the other way. But that was an exploratory one as well, trying to take control of their own affairs. It wasn't dependent on Penryn, but they produced some slate, but very little. It wasn't enough to turn things around. And people like Penryn, the big slate quarry owners, they were masters at thinking ahead and blocking other potential competitors by buying up land all around, so that if anybody wanted to transport their slate down to the sea for shipment, they were blocked because of land ownership by those who had thought ahead, and this was a big issue. I'm not quite sure how the Rachib quarry got their stuff across to be shipped, but in any event it only lasted a few years, so no real salvation there. Nance Francon looking wonderful. Ah, there we are. We've reached the edge of the forest, which means we're on the final leg down. There's a bit of everything today. We've had sort of freezing temperatures or near zero, and through here at the moment it must be about 20-22 degrees. It's very pleasant indeed. I shall have to take my top off and get a final look at Nant Francon before we go back. There we are, folks. We're back at the bike. Everything's fine. Don't really need the handlebar heaters. Road behind is clear. Left anything behind. And there we are. Well, that was a nice walk. Quite a long one. But sometimes that's what's needed. I'm not terribly good at staying indoors and doing nothing, and any